the broadcast for the seasonal session, and this would be the Equinox for September. So as far as facilitation, does anyone want to help with facilitation?
I can help you with that.
Okay, and we might be breaking into another second group. Right now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. So we pretty much should break up into a second group, but we could probably wait a little bit. Anyone want to help with timekeeping, note taking?
I can go for timekeeping. I already signed up. Yep, go ahead.
I can help on note taking.
That was Joyce?
Yes.
All right, cool. And then I think we have one other position, Master Task Responsibility. Task Responsibility Master.
Can you guys start the broadcast like a moment ago, right?
Can you guys use the template instead of like the Earth session? Is that possible? Can you guys use the template as opposed to the Earth session?
Yes.
Oh, video indexer, that's the one we're missing. So what about video indexer?
I can help in video indexing, I think.
So all we need here is just the template to the meeting notes, and then that's all we need. I mean, we don't need anything else. So when you're doing this stuff, you guys literally just link the template. That will get us everything we need. So who is Task Responsibility Master and the video indexer?
I can do the video indexing.
Asif Razu?
Yes.
And Task Responsibility Master? Does anyone know what the Task Responsibility Master is?
Jay, I can do that too.
You want to do that as well? Okay.
And I will help Asif as well. I'll be with him.
Asif
That's great.
Iqbal. And then who's doing timekeeping? Asif. Who's doing timekeeping?
Yeah, it's Asif and Jorge.
Asif Iqbal?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so if someone can make sure we get all the attendance documented, that'd be good. And Nelly, why don't you take us through the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Look, we lost 2 people. Interesting. Why don't you take us through check-ins?
Okay, let's start our check-ins. Who wants to start?
Okay, I'll go first if you allow me.
Please.
Okay. Hi everyone. It's it's for me first season session, and I'm pretty much excited. And yeah, it's not too late over here, and feeling very good to be with you all. And I'm on 6.5 today.
I'm sorry, Jay, my dock is hang, so I cannot type.
Okay, who wants to go next?
I can go next. I'm sorry, I got disconnected.
Okay.
All right, I just got from. I was doing some errands, and this is my first session, like seasonal session, and yeah, I want to check how it goes, and Small expectation. I am 7 today. Check.
Thank you. Okay, who wants to go next?
Yeah, I can check in. Well, today is my Asif Raju. Okay. Well, today is my first seasonal session. I think it was a hectic day for me, but still, I'm pretty much excited about today's session. I'm at 7.
Thank you so much. Joyce, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Good evening here, by the way. So grateful to be here in this seasonal session to meet everyone. And I'm 6.5.
Okay, thank you so much. Lilia?
Well, also good afternoon in my case to everyone. And this is also my first seasonal meeting. And well, I'm feeling very overwhelmed with what's going on in my city. I'm not doing okay. I think I will be like a 3.
Thank you. So, who else is missing? We have Joyce, I have here Saf. Is your name?
Oh, hi. Sorry. I'm so shy.
Hi.
Okay, I feel good. I feel 6.5.
Who's Abigail?
Yes, this is also my first time to join the small session.
Okay, thank you. From 1 to 9, you feel
7.
7? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So, Jay, do you want to check in, please?
Oh yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Probably like a, how am I feeling? Maybe like a 6.5. Still a lot going on, so a lot to catch up on. But I'm happy to be here. I definitely enjoy these seasonal in the sessions. And yeah, check.
Thanks. I think I'm the only one who's missing, right? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm feeling a little bit like I would like to help more here in my country, but I'm okay. So I feel like a 4.
Cool. So let's go on to desired outcomes and topics. I feel like overall, this is a pretty open session. And really can do a lot of different things here. So, and also catch up on stuff, right? Catch up on what we are behind on. I think that would be good. Which primarily includes like different types of trainings. That's one desired outcome I have. Any other desired outcomes or topics?
I don't know if it is I mean, the first time I'm here, but I don't know if we discussed different things like on the Andromeda sessions. So I don't know which if I can say something different from what I said yesterday. So for me, I don't know. Is there any example desired outcomes.
What is an example of a desired outcome?
Yeah, because we had our Andromeda session yesterday, and it was like more focus on work. So I don't know if there's a big difference on seasonal sessions.
Well, we can definitely go over the the purpose of the seasonal session and the global structure. Another thing I think is important is people can add as part of their check-ins and attendance. We want to know where people are in the world, specifically if it's the middle of the night, because you get you get like overtime credits, right, for your participation, for your session credits. So that would be good to note down. And then from there, I have a lot of priority topics. Oh, we always want to do our what do you call it, the
Jake,
methodology proposal.
Or anybody?
Say again?
Sharing your screen.
Oh, yes. I always forget that.
I was missing the screen.
Cool. So basically, we should definitely go through the methodology proposal. The things that are on my topic list, and this comes into the context of like catching up on so much that, I mean, it's been like over a month I've been wanting to talk about all these things. We never get to them because there's all these other priorities that seem to get in the way. So I want to do more training on like general management positions, how to manage things, because it's just so important to understand that and really get down. I think it's related to responsibility organizing. We could possibly do both at the same time. From there is like the new team budgets and billing systems, and just generally like FQN value tracking systems that we've never gone through that, and that includes team equity and equity spreadsheets. It's all extremely important. I would love to go over the team equity, the sextant global structures. So new sextant global structures. This is evolution from quintance. We've had a little trouble with the quintance, but I think the sextants are going to be just as difficult. I mean, global organizing is hard, but it's I think there's a couple little nuances in there that might help significantly. There's the selling calendar, client management positions, and UMBUS, all the UMBUS management positions. This is the time for anyone to bring up any responsibility, any issue, like anything you want to prioritize. Like you guys always say, oh, I need more training, I don't know what to do, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is your chance to ask any question you want to and bring anything up on any topic anywhere in the world.
I would like to prioritize client relations.
Well, client relations is like literally 100 different responsibilities. So you want just like overall client coordination, client relations coordination, or yes. is it specific to EXA as a client? Is it I have client management positions, which has to do with managing the different aspects of the work we're doing for the client. So if you could be a little more specific, it would be helpful, because it's huge, right? And we could talk about investor relations as well, which is huge. I mean, there's like hundreds of responsibilities under investor relations.
Okay. Well, I just know that we always need to do client relations, but we are not trained to do so. That's why I don't even know what are
I mean, we've done a lot of training on client relations, and we need to do more. So, and we're going to cover all that's covered here. So we'll add client management positions and client relations. Okay, so that's all related.
Okay.
Can we have something about like this proposing it for the new investors to our community?
Are you talking about what's going on in Turkey?
No, proposing new investors to our community.
Well, let's just cover that right now. Anyone is welcome to get involved with our community and be an investor, and either of time, of money, of involvement, other contributions, contacts, any resources. So it's just totally open. There's no barrier or prevention.
For that we should have proper documentation that what should be proposed to client, how we will pitch them to come to this community, and sort of documentation like that, because I'm very much near to propose a new client. I'm very much near to it. So is there any kind of documentation so I can show him or something like that, or just we have any kind of meeting with him?
All right, well, let's just go over investor relations documentations for new involvement. Okay, because we would consider anyone getting involved as an investor, right? So whether they're and if they're a client, again, it's what their needs are, So there's also a relationship of like new client documentations and presentation in terms of like what they want. So ideally, in what we define as all of our investor relations and client relations, is always per person, per client, per organization. So every organization we're going to approach totally differently. So it helps a lot to have, but there can be a few general things as well.
Perhaps we should also discuss about Jorge Lopez entities, because it's a new thing.
Didn't we just talk about that yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm only interested in talking about that if someone takes it on as a management position, because yesterday it was like no one wanted to do it. So it was like we talked about it, but then no one signed up to do it. So I mean, I can put it in other, but
do it.
Yeah.
And we can have that related to all of the different client management positions. There's a whole bunch of them, and I mean, I think it's Jorge Lopez entities is important and all. It's great, but not at the expense of getting all of the management positions clear and organized, because like they all need to be done. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So how are we looking here?
Right, taking time.
Are there any other desired outcomes or other details that people want to, other topics?
Not for me. I guess that we have a lot of things to discuss about. 2 hours. Yep.
So this looks good. We're all looking good.
It looks good for me. Yeah.
All right. So I don't know if we're gonna get through all of this stuff, but there we go. There's a lot to get through. So again, this is kind of like what I see in my head is like there's just so much that we're behind on. Ooh, and if we had more time on top of this, it would be great to do quarterly goals and and planning, right?
Oh, will be very good. Yes.
Yeah, to look at the whole quarter, but I mean, wow. I mean, the Venus session will also be a good time for that too, which is the beginning of October, and the Venus session is the executive team. So let's go into the purpose of the seasonal session and how it fits into the global structure, and then we can go ahead and review the Venus session and other things. So I think we have agreement. Are there any objections to our current topics and desired outcomes?
No. Not from the side.
And just one other desired outcome here is to know more about how to get new people and investors involved. That was a clear desired outcome from Asif. Everything else is just kind of like not clear and just training and positions and other things, but we'll figure it out as we go along. All right, so purpose of the seasonal session in the global structure. Oops. So I'll get it started on this one. Basically, the most important thing to understand is that in our global structure, and let me pop open the global main doc. So our structure is basically of the core team, and then you have under the core team is the steering team, and that's where our management structures come in. And then we have the, or that's where the quintant and the sextant management comes in, but the overall global management meets currently on the Mercury session. So that's the first like planetary session. And then all of our other structural aspects of our global session are related to planetary sessions. So the Venus sessions are executive team, the Earth sessions are super bouncil, and the Mars, which happens once a year, is our membership. In our Legion, where we do get more public involvement, would be every 2 years with the series session. From there, you have the Jupiter session, the Saturn session, and those are more like events, right? So this is like primary decision-making structure. And then you have these events that are much bigger. So the next event that's coming up would be the Saturn session, right? So the Saturn session's in 2018. I think it's April or something like that. I don't know. We could double check it. And then the other one is the seasonal session. So the seasonal sessions, the eclipse sessions, so these ones are more open. They're not specifically tied to the decision-making structure, so we don't have specific things that we need to get done today. It's like, it's a little bit more broader and open, so we could talk about anything that we wanted, really. And if the public, and we're going to be inviting the public to be involved in these, we just haven't gotten our outreach set up yet to be really pushing that, because we're so busy with our clients, which is both good and bad, but overall we just need a balance, right? So in the context of the seasonal session, in relationship to like a Gregorian calendar, would be like, if we had a weekly thing and you have the first 4 weeks of the month, like the first Saturday, the second Saturday, the third Saturday, the fourth Saturday, the fifth Saturday, when you have a fifth day, it's kind of like team building and open catch up, right? So that's kind of like what the seasonal session is. It's kind of like an extra global session in the mix. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we made decisions, here in the global network, these decisions count as they're in between the power of the Venus session and the Mercury session. So Venus sessions happen about 3 times a year. Seasonal sessions happen 4 times a year. So the less often the session happens, the higher level of power that the decisions affect. But today we don't have any specific types of decisions that we need to make. Whereas at the executive team meeting with the Venus session, there's a whole list of decisions that need to be addressed and reviewed. Cool. So comes in between the Venus and Mercury. And then the only other thing to note here is that I think the easiest way to do value tracking in relation to global sessions is that basically daily sessions are equal to 1x. So this would be like work sessions, etc., right? Whereas if you have weekly sessions, that would be equal to 7x because they only happen once a week, right? So it would be really important to come to weekly sessions, but you don't have to. It's like no one's required to come to the main weekly sessions, right? And then we're also moving forward with like the twice per month sessions, and those would be 14x. Whereas a quarterly session would be 91x.
Okay, so that's the frequency of those sessions, right?
Yeah, so the Mars session would be 361 or 354x, something like that, whatever it is. So the point is that we want to make it really important to come to the most important sessions for the global session, even if it's like the middle of the night or whatever. But anyways, I'm still not 100% sure on that. That'll be like another level. We'll figure it out, you know. And maybe it's a more reasonable context to do it. Is it would just be 2x is equal to 2 days, right? 2 days. 3x is equal to 4 days. 4x is equal to 8 days, right? So it could be something like that where it's logarithmic or whatever. Anyways, I'm just hoping you guys understand that, you know, the seasonal session is an important session to come to, and it's part of our global structure, and it's part of our value tracking.
Okay.
Cool.
So it's important because we need to add them to the calendar, because I think in the calendar we just have the Earth session and the lunar sessions, but we don't have the seasonals. This is like new.
Okay, so what we want to do is we want to pull up, this would be the calendar verification, right? Calendar verification spreadsheet. So if I pull up the calendar verification spreadsheet, we have seasonal session right here, seasonal autumnal session verified, done.
Okay.
So I think it's in there.
Oh, okay. Okay, my bad. Yes.
But what we do need to do is we need to continue to update them, and you know the Saturn system we know, the Jupiter is coming in Thursday, October 26th is obviously no. This is not correct. No. So we don't do solar conjunctions. We only do perihelion and aphelion. We do root point cycles. So a solar conjunction of Jupiter in relationship to the Earth involves 3, if not 4, cycles that are simultaneously all calculated together. And it's actually extremely complicated. So we just don't do that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So we only do just root point cycles, the moment in space-time where Jupiter is the closest to the sun and furthest from the sun. Everything else, we're not worried about it. And Jupiter doesn't come around until 2023. So it's like a long time from now. Jupiter's every 6 years. Saturn is every 12 years. So as when Saturn comes around next year, it'll be the only time for 12 years that it will have a Saturn session. So it's kind of like a big deal. All right, so that's like our next big session, right? So just everyone knows, like in our public outreach and our whole public everything, it's like the big session is for Saturn, the Saturn session. So the other big session coming up, so there's the Saturn session, and then we might also do like mid-October for our Unity Day event announcement. I don't know if we want to do that, but that's basically, we are really close to having the ability to do that, and it could be part of our public launch if we get our public launch together. Anyways, I think we're ready to move on. Is anyone timekeeping?
Yes, I am. We are just in time. With 5 minutes, you just take.
Okay, but you're not timekeeping unless you are actually giving a warning. So 5 minutes, you'd want 2-minute warning, 1 minute warning, and a time, and then 1 minute over, 2 minutes over. Nelly?
Yeah, the one that I wanted to show you is the one that is there that I just put there, calendar and scheduling, is where we don't have yet the seasonal sessions. So we need to add them to calendarize them.
Sure, but the verification is what matters, right? So eventually we can have one that goes over how to find it, but it's really easy to find. You just search on Google, when's the winter solstice, or actually it would be the northern solstice, because we don't do winter or fall and all those things because we're global, because it's not fall for everybody across the world.
Right. We'll just do like a part of what it says, seasonal session, and put them there in the.
Yeah. You can make a section in the calendar and scheduling doc and just write a section that says seasonal,
Exactly.
Yeah, but remember, the seasonal session is a planetary session, right? It's part of the Earth. It has to do with the Earth revolving around the sun that creates the seasons. So it's considered a primary planetary session. So right now on YouTube, this is being broadcast on our primary planetary sessions YouTube channel.
Okay.
So it's a pretty big deal. So, but anyways, the reason why it's not on the calendar and scheduling doc is because it's considered a planetary session.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's fully related. It's in essence, it could be considered a subset of the Earth session and the super balance framework, but it's just not. It can also just be its own thing. Yeah, cool. So I mean, we should really move on unless there's like something else that's urgent.
Yes.
So Nelly, do you want to give the methodology proposal a try? And how are we doing on people? Are we still 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. Well, we just barely fit, and we're doing a lot of training, so
yes.
I don't think we need to split up. Is everyone okay not splitting up? Any objections to not splitting up? All right, I think we're good. So, do you want to do the methodology proposal? I'll copy and paste it here so you have it.
Sure. The next topic will be methodology proposal. I guess this is to see the way we will work. This is new to me too.
Well, it's not new. You've done it multiple times. We do it at every single global planetary session.
Oh, okay.
So it's very simple. I'll explain to you the process, and then you can practice it, right? So the process is very simple. You say what it is. This is our methodology proposal. It's the terms of involvement for people to be involved in the network. And so you need to agree to approve the Unity methodology and all the related Unity policies, protocols, guidelines, systems. You just read the proposal, right? And then you see if there's any questions, concerns, and then lastly, we would do to see if there's agreement, right? To see if there's any objections. And then from there, we individually ask each individual, individually ask new people. And when I say new people, people who've never attended a planetary session. All right, does that make sense, Nelly? Do you want me to repeat that, or?
No, it does make sense. I just didn't know that we were doing it like that method.
So can you do it, or do you not want to do it, or?
I'm just checking.
What
it says it doesn't allow me to go to the link.
Well, why do you need to go to the link?
Oh.
The link works fine for me, but you don't need to go to the link. The everything you need is right there. That's just the link to the details.
Okay.
The proposal is written here already. It's already there.
Okay. Do everyone agree with this?
That's not the process at all. All right. So let me try this. Let's back up to the very beginning. I'm going to try to explain it again. Right. Okay. Like the reason why it's important. Let me make sure understand why. The reason why it's important to go through a specific decision-making process is because you can easily manipulate the decision-making process, and that literally is the definition of corruption, right? Is if you manipulate the decision-making, you basically push things through without having the ability for everyone. So if you just say, like, is everyone okay with this? Then you don't even know what people think about it. right? And you don't even know if they even know what you're even talking about. Do you understand what I'm trying to say as far as like the why it's important to have a process? Do you guys understand?
Yes.
So the process is very simple. Step one, you read the proposal, right, to everybody. Then you ask if there are questions. Read proposal and ask if there are questions. In other words, do people understand the proposal, right? If they don't understand the proposal, then they can't possibly vote on it. Do you understand? Do you get that part? Step one?
Yes.
Step two is you ask to see if there's any concerns, or as you like to call them, doubts, right? Are there concerns or doubts? Let's just address the issues, right, first before we go to the objection to deal with actually trying to pass it. Because if there's issues, we can just solve the issues first and then have much better luck passing it, because our goal is to get consensus. And then the last thing is you ask for objections. Are there objections, or roll call vote? All right, does that make sense? That's the process for decision making.
Okay.
So you can't just skip to step three. If you skip to step three, that's a manipulation of the decision making process.
We are 1 minute away from this topic.
So Nelly, if you don't want to, I mean, this is what facilitators do. They coordinate the process of the decision making. So I mean, if you don't want to do it, we're not going to force you to do it, but this is a great chance for you to practice, you know?
Okay. So what is the proposal that I need to read to them?
It's right here. It's literally right there. That's the proposal.
Okay.
The proposal is to approve the Unity methodology.
Yes. So the proposal will be to approve the Unity methodology and all related to Unity policies, protocols, guidelines, systems, and processes. Okay.
Okay, that's good. So then what do you do?
Do you have? Does anybody has any concerns, doubts, issues about this proposal?
No, you skipped a step.
Okay, are there any questions?
Any concerns, doubts, or issues?
No, first, do you have any questions about the proposal?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Anybody has any concerns, doubts, or issues?
Not so far. That's okay.
Okay. So, any objections?
No.
No.
All right. Then we shall proceed.
Okay, we do want to get individual people. I think Abigail might be the only new person. Abigail, do you agree?
Yeah, I'm just listening attentively, and yes, I agree.
Cool. All right, so we got Abigail. Is there anyone else here? I think Aline, you approved it, right? Lilia, maybe you need to approve it too. So Aline, Joyce. I think everyone else did already.
Yes.
Yes.
I think Jay, you already proposed on our.
Lilia, do you want to approve the methodology?
Yes, I approve.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. So I think we're good on all of that. The only other thing I mentioned here is there is a responsibility to help update the Unity methodology. The methodology, by definition, is constantly changing. Every time we create a new policy, every time we change a process, the methodology is updated, right? So it's constantly evolving and updating. So we constantly want to be updating the Unity methodology proposal. So let's be sure to, if someone wants to sign up to help with that. And then Asif Iqbal and Jorge or someone, can't remember who is, but this would be something that goes into the priority responsibilities. So we can keep track of those. All right, what's next? We ready to move on?
Yes.
So I guess I'll take care of this particular section on the general investor relations documentation for new involvement. So let's start with types of investors, right? So obvious, of course, you have paid workers. So paid workers, it is true that you guys are getting paid, right? I'm even getting paid too, but you guys are not getting paid a lot of money. Some people are getting paid more than other people in relationship to their jurisdiction, et cetera, et cetera. Everyone's mainly working like part-time, and then people work over, and then they get back pay because we don't have more and more money in the budget because we need to hire more people, and it's just like, it's difficult, right? So the point is that even though we're paying people, it's in some ways it could be seen more like as a stipend. I mean, for me, example, I'm getting like a fifth, if not, you know, a tenth of the amount of money that I actually need to live off of, right? So the point is that even paid workers, even if you were paid the full amount that you need and then some, there's still an aspect of it that you're choosing to put your time into something that's a very different vision for society across the world. So it's still an investment, okay? So it's an investment primarily of time, okay? Then we also have what we call unpaid workers, which would also be an investment of time, right? So we consider unpaid workers and paid workers both investors. All right, are there any questions about that?
No.
No, it's pretty clear.
No, it's clear.
Great. So then from there are, you know, basically you have, you know, normal investors, what should be considered investment of money. And we don't treat normal investors any differently than we treat unpaid workers or paid workers or whoever. And then last, there would be other contributors. You can contribute energy, ideas, advice. You can contribute contacts, you know, information, and the list goes on and on and on. There's no limit to what someone can contribute and the value that it has. But obviously in the old society, the systems of time and money are predominant. But what we're going to see is as we evolve into the future, we are going to be getting much more into, and just whoever's doing notes right now, we just do what's called heading 3, and that makes the table of contents work. So yeah, any other questions on the types of investors within the network?
No, it's clear.
We have, as part of the topic, new client documentation and presentation.
Yeah, so let's go.
And specific individual, yes.
Yeah, so let's go over each one of these so it's clear where we're at. So generally speaking, for paid or even unpaid, so we could just say workers, right? So you have workers, paid and unpaid. There's a couple primary documents that we use for that. I'm gonna go into the Americas one, because the Americas one is just a little bit clearer. And eventually we're going to need to have all this stuff in multiple languages and, you know, all of that, but let's not worry about that for right now because we are a little bit busy. All right, so we're going to important documents. Actually, we're going to info docs, informational documents. Okay, so this would be the first. This would be the second set of information. Let's skip this. Let's skip this. Let's go to the first one. All right, so this is called the info document for training. So this particular document is good for anybody who wants information about the network. But it's also good for people who specifically are considering becoming some type of paid or unpaid worker. So paid workers would be considered staff. Unpaid workers would be more like just workers, right? But nobody is a volunteer. We just don't do volunteers because everybody gets equity and value for the time and the contributions that they give automatically. So this goes through like, what are we, you know, what are our primary infrastructure goals? You know, how do we create and issue travel, right? I mean, value. And then it has some of the more informational docs here. So for somebody that is not really just necessarily working with us, that document could still be particularly helpful. But these documents are really the primary documents that have the information. as a next step, I mean, we could add the next steps, and I should be able to say something should go to next steps, and then you should add it there, but I'll write it as a task, right? So add to next steps that we would want to do a full video presentation for the deck. All right, so this could just take a few minutes, right? But basically, I'll show very, very quickly the deck. So we do have a presentation. We'll have this be all video, but it talks about the problems of the world. We have global climate destabilization. We have political gridlock, corruption, immorality, big special money interests, you know, that are in control of the world, that are basically raping and pillaging the world for their own benefits. And then we have a lot of mechanical systems. We're treating human beings like machines. And we have these very factory modeled educational institutions. And it's almost like we're a machine-based economic model, which is not healthy. And so then the solutions is that we want to build new economic systems, new political systems, new educational systems to transform the entire global society. So this basically goes through our problems, our solutions. It goes through our model and our challenges and like the resource needs that we have. We call this the Essence deck. We also have the DAO, the Distributed Autonomous Organizational deck, and we also have our offers, right? So these offers are more related to workers, and the offers are basically, you know, for globally, we're offering $500,000 across the world for 4 years of full-time work. 4 years of full-time work, and this would be equity. So basically, if somebody gave us $500,000, right, that would be equivalent of any individual working for 4 years full-time, right? So it creates the relationship between the normal investor equity and people's time. So one other type of investor that we forgot, right, is the client. So actually, I'm going to put it like, you know, the goal would be to turn into investors, is that our clients. So clients, we want to turn into investors. Can anyone think of how to turn an investor into a client?
I'm not sure, but once the investor is working with us,
well, let me reframe that. I said it wrong. How would you turn a client into
an investor, right?
An investor? Yes. And, well, let's actually
Okay,
back up. Let's back up. So the question is how to turn a client into an investor, right? So that would be the question. But if we go back a step here,
yes,
would be what is the difference between a client and an investor?
Okay, the client will be the person we do work for, and then we receive a payment back because of that work that we're doing. And the investor is the person that we are not doing any work for him, like you can say that, but he is giving money to the community so we can keep going on with our activities.
Yeah, so with investors, this would include both donors as well as equity investors, as well as token investors. And I'm not going to go into the difference of those, but there's specific differences. So in the context of what Nelly was saying is sort of correct, but it's also a little misleading. So it is true we're not doing work for the investors directly, but we do report back to them. So we're all investors collectively, and we all own value and equity in the model. We're collectively owned cooperative model across the world. So based on the value that you have, we're all investors, right? And so if we want to return on our investment of the time and value that we've put in beyond just our pay, we would want to make sure that whoever is working is doing the work to build the value. So when an investor invests their money, instead of working to do work for time and deliverables, right? Investors basically want value and money back instead of time and deliverables. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're still working for an investor, and we're all working for all of us. Like, the better work we all do collectively, the more we create value and wealth for everybody. So in the context of we're not doing work for them, we're doing work on behalf of them.
Yes.
Right, but we're still doing work in relationship to the investors. They're just investing in the work that we're doing as opposed to investing in some other work. So the client, the best way to think about a client is that the primary investment is in a different project, right? It's wherever we're doing the work for, right? So for example, EXA, when EXA pays us as a client, we are working to invest in EXA as a business and as a movement, not ourselves. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
But typically client relationships are mutually beneficial. So how do you turn a client into an investor?
Well, it could be possible that the client likes the whole idea of the community, the goals and everything, and he decides to invest in us.
Cool. So let's just that's a perfectly good context, right? So, but the detail is much simpler even, which is simply to get them to pay us more money for the work, more money and slash value, right? Slash actually money for the work we are doing than the value of what we are supporting them with. Right? So as long as they pay us more money for the work they're doing, it's automatically considered an investment, right? So if they pay it, so there's only 3 options here, right? So option number 1 is that they pay us less money than the value of the work we do for them, right?
More money.
Option 2 is that they pay us exactly the value of the money of the work we do for them.
Of the work. Mm-hmm.
And obviously, number 3 is that they pay us more than the value of the work we do for them. Okay?
Okay, we are almost in the nick of time. We got like 1 more minute.
Okay, but what we would want for these things is we want a 5-minute warning and a 2-minute warning. So we have a 2-minute warning. So we'll see what we can do here. All right, so I guess just to finish up this section, then we'll do one last little bit. Maybe we'll take an extra minute or 2. But basically, with EXA as an example, so example, we have EXA. So EXA pays us, let's say, $10,000 per month to do maybe 20,000 plus of work. All right, so we are losing $10,000 per month of value on EXA, right? And we're working our butts off, right? So it takes away time from us. It takes away time for that, right? So for EXA, our goal is to build the value into the system so that we're at least getting the value that we're supposed to be getting, and then eventually the hope is to get more value so that they're actually investing us. But we're super happy to get paid anything at all, right? I mean, it's better than nothing, right?
Yes.
But it just drains us because we're so busy with EXA. We literally spend 95% of all of our time on EXA. So it limits what we're able to do. So let's talk about specifics now. So we have maybe 2, 3 more minutes to talk about the specifics. So are there any other questions on just generally the types of workers, the types of investors, other contributors, the information we would use for that, and our general goal of turning to turn clients into investors?
No, no questions.
All right,
Not for me.
so really all of this is somewhat meaningless outside of the context that we need to be talking about specific individuals, specific organizations, because the way we approach every investor will be totally different. Did someone add this to the next steps? Look at that. Nobody added that to the next steps?
Jay, suppose, you know, I'm working for Turk Wallet, okay? And they told me that we have got plenty of work, like administration work, like finance work, like payroll and audit work. And those people are going to pay us for these all tasks. So this will be client, or this will be a, you know, invest. I think it will be a client, right?
Be client, of course.
We'll be doing everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So all they would have to do is pay us more than the value, and then they would become an investor as well. So they could be a client and an investor, right? But anyways, you know, basically our model, and let me pop open the DAO slides. Yes, this one. So although this focuses more on the DAO slides, we could easily update this. Let's actually put this as a responsibility. So this would be the update the FQN DAO essence deck for a client relationship. Okay. So
right.
For general FQN community network client relationships. Okay, so the FQN DAO is a specific project that we're working on, but it's very well situated. So the problem is very different. The problem for a client would be to address their issues, right? To help our clients, right? So our clients have problems. The solution is that we have this amazing set of ways that we can help clients, and then we have our model. So our model is this. So we package in this way. We would get rid of DAO, and instead of DAO, we would say basically our client work, right, or whatever we're doing for organizational support, with the whole variety of services, including operations, structure, legal, translation, finance, business, HR, personnel, like you were saying, payroll, documentations, coordinations, planning, structures, decentralized organized management systems, distributed resource systems, collaborative organizational structures, community equity, much, much more. It goes on and on and on. So we can offer all of those activities, and so we could make a deck to make it a little more presentable. So if someone wants to help do that, that would be easy to do very quickly. But I'm certainly down to help with that. So the first step one is to make contact, find out what they need, right? So what they need is finance, audit, payroll, right? Step two is basically to have a clear picture of the costs and value, right? So the important note here, I got rid of it already. Let me just see if I can find this here, because a lot of this is already written up here. Yeah, so we offer this organizational services. So we get rid of the block and mortar distributed organizational resources, and we just say that we offer organizational services based on upfront and token client packages, or upfront and value packages. So the idea is if we take on $5,000 to $10,000 per month of work, and we're willing to do less, like we're willing to do $1,000 or $1,500, whatever, if they want us to do less work. But we're going to require a payment up front of at least 10%. And we can help build the equity structures into the businesses that most businesses have no idea what they're doing, right? So we offer a deal of, for example, advice and support is equal to free, right? And this would be DYI. So this is life support, org support, right? Everything that we offer is open to the public for free as far as advice, support. We will teach you how to run an organization, how to do everything, and we'll do it for free. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Right. But if they want us to do it for them, it's going to cost money, right? Cost money. So how much money does it cost? Well, let's see finances. You know, typically it's about 5% of the value. Value is equal to about 5% of the total the total cash flow. Does that make sense, or should I explain that more?
Please.
So if you have $100,000 annual budget,
Yes.
right, that would be $100,000. $100,000 times 5% is $5,000. So $5,000, and then if you divide that by 12 months, it's about $500 per month, right? So a $100,000 budget is a really big budget, right? Our budget's only, maybe 50,000, 60,000. Well, I guess we're actually going towards 100,000 because we're doing 10,000 a month now, right? So we should be spending about $500 a month internally on our own finances. Does that make sense?
Yes.
For a $100,000 budget, right? But we would be willing within a bigger package, we would be willing to go for as little as like $100, $100 a month, possibly even less if it was for a good cause. So if they're willing to pay us something, we'll be willing to work with them. But there's a big but here. The difference must be equated in valued equity, tokens, or some other mutually beneficial relationship. So in essence, it needs to be a back pay, IOU, whatever. So the idea is that we're not going to work for less than $500 a month, but we'll take $100 a month to start with, and then over time we can work our way up as we support them to be more successful and bring in more money so they can pay us the full value of the work that we're doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, just exactly like we're doing with Exit.
Exactly like we do with Exit.
Yeah. With the value tracking. Yes.
With the value tracking and everything, right? So we're working for much less than the value of what we want, and the reason why we do that is because we're helping people, right? We actually have a beneficial need that businesses in the world today that we need in the world are not necessarily the businesses that have all the money, right? So if all we did was take full value money, the only clients we might get are basically big, huge corporate clients that are potentially raping and pillaging the world, right? So instead, we're trying to help organizations and businesses that don't necessarily have lots of finances and value, because we actually believe that investing in them is a benefit for us, right? So to make sure it's really clear, right? With these three structures here, right? All of these are very specific. This means that we are investing into the business that we're doing work for, right? So with Exit, we get equity, we get tokens, we're getting all this value from the work that they're doing. If they pay us, and a lot of times they don't give us anything, right? So if we help a nonprofit, typically we get nothing, right, from them, but we still get our own generated, community equity and other forms of value that we are actually building, right? So we're building our own social assets that then will be shared with the societal value, societal equity, right, with everybody. So if they pay us exactly the work we do, then this is like a equal balance. It can also be a mutual stakeholding. So in that context, we both get value between us. Both can get equity and value between us, right? Because there's still value created above the value that is exchanged. And then in this one, they're investing in us, right? So they get equity and value.
So yeah, one more thing over here. That suppose if that person is paying us $50,000 per month, so how we will distribute this $15,000 among us? I mean, we are over here 9 people, right?
Well, we're gonna cover that, but basically, we would be creating a new business, right? So every single client relationship within the network is its own value stream and has its own equity pool and value within its own framework, if that makes sense. Right?
Correct. Okay.
So the current model for EXA and existing clients is that they all almost exclusively come through RICO. So RICO is a specific business, right, within the network. So if we have a new point source of the value coming into the network, you have a potentially different business. I mean, RICO could take over the contract, or you could do a partnership. So you could have a partnership between RICO and, you know, new company, right? So you could do a partnership because obviously RICO is able and capable of taking it on, or you could just create a new company, right? So or create a new company. For example, if Asif Iqbal brings in the client, he has the primary stake in the relationship. So legality is all about relationship. So the legal stake in you as Asif Iqbal bringing in the client means, for example, let's say we get $15,000 a month. You might not have full control over the budget, just like I don't necessarily have full control over the budget, but you have first dibs on basically getting, you know, a half year, a whole year, so that your pay is secure. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So
right.
So the money coming in for this new company would be looked at as a totally separate budget in the network from every other budget, and it would actually be the decision making could be combined, but it would be legally separate based on the legal structure of the business that did the agreement. We don't really do contracts. We can do contracts if people want contracts, but yeah. Does that sort of help make sense?
Because, you know, I'll be responsible of each and every thing because he has allocated me to do on his behalf to do each and every contract between you and his company. So I'm the main person on behalf of him.
No.
So
You're mixing up management and legal. So there's two. So organization, regardless of whether it's nonprofit, for-profit, governance, whatever, all organizations have two primary divisions. One is the legal structures,
And the finance, yes.
and the other is the management structures.
okay.
So everything that you just talked about is like the day-to-day operations and all the work that's going to get done and how everything's going to happen. That would all be management structures. So almost 99.99% of everything that we talk about is management, right? We very, very rarely, this is one of the first times we're ever even talking about legal structures because we just never, ever come to this component. But again, the current legal framework of our relationship with EXA is through RICO. Okay, so RICO, and EXA doesn't even know this. They don't even need to know. They don't even need to know it. Like, and the same thing is true with whatever this organization you're talking about in Turkey, right? They don't need to know our internal legal structures, right? They just don't need to know that, right? So, as far as EXA is concerned, they just work with the Afghan Community Network, right? It's simple. But on our internal systems, the legal relationship with EXA is through RICO, and RICO is owned as part of you know, primarily me and also the whole community equity model of it, right? But it's the business that I created, right? I'm the founder of RICO, and so as the primary board member and decision maker of the RICO organization and the business, I basically turn over the budget framework of our team budgets to the management team. Does that make sense? So we take the total amount of money, and then once we turn it over, actually how the money is distributed, all that is put through our normal management structures. So the only decision, the only legal decision that needs to be made is how much money to turn over to the management structures and the teams, and we're going to cover that in detail. Yeah, check. What?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll cover that in detail. But the simple answer is whoever the owner of the money coming in and the relationship they have with it can control it. Right? They can end the contract. They can do everything with it. They're the owners. Does that make sense?
Right.
And it's not an individual. It's
it.
an organization. It's not an individual at all. So it has to have accountability and have structure and all that stuff. So we can use RICO. We could use a different business. We could create a collaborative company. Collaborative companies are really easy. And we can also use a, what do you call it? A new partnership. So this would be a collaborative company. So an example, here's an example, could be like RICO would own, 40%. Asif might own 25%, right? And then maybe you have community equity, which would be everybody else, getting, what would it be? 100 minus 40 minus 25, right? It's 35%, right? So that would be one option, right? Another option could be, RICO gets 30%, Asif gets 30%, community equity gets 40%.
40.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, that contract that you'd be making, or not a contract, the agreement, it can be a contract if you want it to, would contract with an entity that would have a breakdown of percentage equity and the valuation for the ownership decision making, and then this group would be appointing a board, and then the board would be making the legal decisions, and the legal decisions would then be overseen by the management structures. Okay. And I can explain that more in the future. And just to give you the basic rundown on how we do all of our structuring, it's very simple. You have the membership, ownership, shareholders, ... Then and that's what I just went through. This is the ownership structure. Then you have the board of directors, which are the legal decision makers, right? And this level appoints the board and holds the board accountable. And then you have the executives oversee the management. And then this also is the day-to-day management. And this is also they appoint the executives. Okay. So the board of directors is kind of like in the middle. And for us, the board structures are the Earth sessions in the global. So in the global context, when we actually address the board of directors models, that's going to be on the Earth sessions. And the Venus session is the executive level. So let's just review that again real quick, because that's kind of cool. All right, so Venus sessions are the executive team. Earth sessions are the Council, which is it's the board and the councils put together, the councils, right? And then the membership is the Mars session. So the Mars session, which only happens once a year, is when we all come together as owners of the network. And members, and we all have equal vote and equal membership or our equity valuation, and that only happens once a year for the global level. Okay, so we don't do that very often. It's very, very few and far between. So let's just, man, I know this is a lot of information. We're kind of getting detailed, but I think it's helpful for you guys. But I want to make sure we get back to, and me and Asif, we can talk about that offline, So. And that goes into step 3. So the end of step 2 is making sure the potential client understands and agrees to the value framework, right? So it's not even worth our time unless they have some type of interest in paying us like multiple thousands of dollars a month. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So otherwise, it's like, we'll just advise you and help you and not take responsibility, right? We'd rather not take responsibility than not get the value, because then we wouldn't be able to do a good job. So then step 3 is to write up and this would require checking in with them, writing up an agreement.
Proposal?
Yeah, it's kind of like a proposal. So we want to meet with them, better understanding of their needs, And typically we try to do, 1 to 3 pages. It would include like the primary objectives and goals. If anyone has seen the EXA agreement, if you want to copy and paste that here, or the updated plan. So that's an example of that. But we'll be doing simplified ones because they're kind of this one's kind of too complicated. So yeah, and sometimes there's multiple agreements. It just depends on what they're capable of doing. Like, I was mentioning here that finances could be, as much as $500 a month, if not more. So that's just finances. There's also audit and payroll, right? So payroll could be an additional agreement if they're gonna. So with $15,000, you'd probably break that up into as many as like 2, 3, 4 agreements. Does that make sense?
Right. I'm already in the process of writing an agreement, but for details, I would have to have discussion with you, Jay.
Yeah.
Later on.
Yeah. So that's perfectly fine. We can just sit down and make it clear. But again, the most important thing is having clearly about what is making the agreement internally and how that's going to all work out. But I'm happy to sit down with you anytime. Just or bring it up at any buddy team session or other sessions. Like, we could talk about it right now too if you wanted to spend a couple more minutes on it. But otherwise, I think we're pretty much ready to move on. And
yes,
so
let's move on to the next
payment.
topic.
Yeah, just so you guys know, step 4 is receive payment. We do not do back and forths, right? Like we'll update the agreement or make changes or whatever. We don't even require contracts or signing things. It's like that's like really not necessary. It just needs to be there just needs to be verbal and recorded agreement. But step 4 is that we just receive the payment, right? So the payment is the final. This is the proof of the agreement. Right, so we don't require a signing of contract because if we're going to be a client and they pay us money, then they've agreed to what we told them. Does that make sense?
Yes, Jay, but honestly speaking, I'm already having the payments. To be very frank with you, but yeah, we'll definitely have more discussion on it.
Well, I mean, if you already are having the payments, then it doesn't make sense in the context of what you're describing. Because if you're already taking payments, they have nothing to do with the FQN community network. Is that correct?
No. It's not like that. That the person, the NSR, he totally make me responsible to do everything, for his company. Okay, so I am the only. So you can think that this is my company. Okay, we can set up, we can make an agreement, we can go follow all the steps, and then at the final, I can grab the payment. That's not an issue.
Yeah, well, that's similar to EXA. So, for example, with EXA, I am the treasurer of EXA. So I already oversee all of the money. So the EXA pays us $10,000 a month, right? But we also oversee all of their money, which is like $100,000 of payroll a month, right? And all the budgets is $100,000 a month. So we're getting 1/10 of the entire budget and payroll. But we oversee all of that. So if you're the treasurer and you already have control of all the money for the organization that we would be creating the agreement with, then it's a done deal. We just have to finalize it, make sure it's clear what is being, what the expectation is,
exactly.
And then we just do it. Yeah, it's super done. So we could just skip to step 3 with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So the question, so just to get to step 3, the question for you, Asif, would simply be like, how much money, and then what and what? I mean, you said. These 3 things: finance, audit, and payroll. Is there anything else? And how much money are we talking about?
Yeah, we will have discussion later on if you like on a buddy team or something like that.
Sure. Or you can just say right now. I mean, I think it's perfectly fine to just move it forward. But and what about who wants to help write the agreement? So the responsibility here would be write. Do we have a name yet?
Yeah, Turk Wallet. Turk.
Turk.
Bulun.
Bulon.
V. It is a V as a violet or something. Yeah.
Bulun. Turk
Bulun. It's a volunteer. Turk volunteer. Turkey volunteer. So it's in short, it's Turk Wallet.
Oh.
Wait, I'll write it for you. It's Turk. Poland, yeah.
All right, does anyone want to help write up the agreement with Turk Balon? So this would be Jay, Asif, Iqbal, anyone else?
How about Steve?
Nelly?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so and this would be a responsibility. So, all right, so
You know,
yeah.
Steve is also good writing agreements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, so I think we're ready to go. And just let me just note one other thing here, Asif, is that a lot of people, like for example, me, I have no need to get money for myself, right? So I just put money into businesses that then share the money with more people, right? So for example, here, if you deserve like a cut of the ownership, remember the ownership has nothing to do with the money coming in, right? So the $15,000 is just the money coming in. Ownership would be related to the decision making and if there is profit, right? There's no guarantee we're going to have any profit, right? So see if you wanted to, your percentage, whatever that may or may not be, you could start your own business, and then that business could have its own ownership model. So you could have an ownership model that you own 100% of it, but then it could be broken down and you could give ownership to other people in your community or whatever, or you could have your, so anyways, the point is that I'm just mentioning how it's very flexible. So for me, my business is Rico, and you could have your own business and then they could partner together for this particular contract, and then from there it evolves. Yeah.
That would be better, I think. Just give me one more day to have a last discussion with Nassar, and then I'll come back to you on this.
Cool. Yeah. We'll schedule. Let's make sure we schedule us a time to check in. I know it's hard because we're like opposite side of the world, but Turkey's a little bit easier, right? So we just have to do early.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Before we end the session.
I don't know exactly what time we're gonna end. Is there a specific time that people need to leave? Let's check in on that real quick.
Oh no, I was just checking for the 2 hours window.
Are there any particular time that people need to leave? So I mean, I could see us doing as much as let's say it's be 4:30, so it'll be an hour from now, which would be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10:30 p.m. UTC. Okay, so let's go to the next topic. But yeah, we got a little sidetracked on that, but it was good to get that all done with. And if it could mean us bringing in another, like, even a couple $1,000s, if not 15,000 or whatever, well, it would be worth it. Okay, so general manager position training, and maybe we could even talk more afterwards as well. Let's see. But I'll be available tomorrow morning. Let's see. So perfectly.
No worries. I'll be there.
Yeah. All right, so we're ready for general management position training.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. Hey, actually, I'm gonna get a sip of water. Yeah, I'm gonna get a sip of water. But I'll just say one other thing is that eventually, for like specifically what's it called, Turk Balon, that would have a client manager, right? So this manager position would be applicable to all of our clients. Every organization has a manager and stuff. But I need a sip of water. I'll be right back. So Nelly, get going. I guess silence is cool, but you guys are always welcome to tell a joke or something. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, I was explaining. So, team, as you know, we have grown a little bit in clients. Right now, we have EXA. We have the entities of Jorge Lopez. We are helping Anya also with her taxes. So because of that, new manager positions are needed because we need to take care of the client, you know, as a client needs to be taken care. So that's why we are taking this topic as priority today.
So we have a spreadsheet of the list of manager positions. Then we also have co-coordinator positions. Generally, the difference of a co-coordinator position is that it potentially oversees multiple managers, right? Whereas the goal is that managers are just a single position. That's like the goal of a manager position will be like, right? It's just like this is a clear, specific position, and that's all it is. So, for example, we have the overall EXA client managers, right? And this could also be co-manager. So right now that's me, Jorge. If anyone else wants to help out with that, we could definitely use help with it. But basically, does this make sense as far as like this would be a co-coordinator, right? So the overall co-coordinator.
Yes.
Right. So the overall EXA client co-coordinators is overseeing multiple client managers. And let's just pull up the list. Client managers. I don't know, maybe you guys could find that doc for the client management list. But obviously there's a couple, and the new one that we need someone to help out with is the economic spaces categorization and prioritization. Let's just say C&P. C&P, client manager. EXA, umbrella, finance, and accounting, client manager. EXA, value tracking.
Cannot find the document. Give me just 1 second.
Yeah, well, I know it's in a couple different places. We don't really need it, but anyway. So anyways, the point is that we have a whole bunch of manager positions, EXA, documentations, client manager, right? Each one of these relates to budget. So maybe we get $1,000 for documentations. We get, $2,500 for finances per month, right? So I think it's about $1 million right now for EXA. It has $1 million annual budget almost.
Yes.
And so that we should be getting a lot more than $2,500, but that's what they're giving us right now. So value tracking is like $1,000 per month, right? So each one of these manager positions oversees a budget, right? So the responsibilities of a general manager position. Also, we have a link for this position as well. General manager position doc. Here it is. So this is the link to the actual general manager positions document that actually, this is not the first time we're going over this. This is actually the second or third time. So, but I'm gonna try to simplify it even more. So the primary responsibilities of the general manager positions are as follows. To oversee the budget and make sure the money meets the client needs. One important component of this is that let's say we bring $1,000 in, right? That means we have a budget of really about $500. So it's 1/2. Right? So if you want to run a successful business, if you spend all of your money on the work for the client, you're going to go bankrupt. Okay?
Okay, yes.
So one of the roles of the general manager position is to make sure that the money is used properly and so that we don't go bankrupt, right? So that we're trying to keep the entire project of the client under half of the total cost. And really, the real value is typically 3 to 4x, right? So if we're bringing $100,000, we really should only be spending like $200, $300, $400, like less than $500 if we want to actually be making profit and in doing that. So let's say that the cost to the client was the cost to us to meet the needs of the client was equal to $500, right? This would equal a value of $2,000. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
So if we charge them $1,000, we're giving them a 50% discount, right? So if we charge $1,000, that equals 15% discount, right? And that's currently what we're doing for Exit. We're basically giving them a 50% discount on everything. All right, so that's the first responsibility, is to make sure the budget is coordinated and dealt well. The next one would be the responsibilities. So to list and document the responsibilities involved with the agreement, the client agreement, involved with accomplishing. So it could be, you know, project responsibilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Guys, I will be back in just a quick minute. Just 1 minute, I'll be back.
Okay, no problem. So, I mean, that's really pretty much it. You know, I guess the other thing would be to make sure your position and goals are client goals are prioritized during meetings and monthly goal setting. Right? So it's up to you to bring it up. You're the manager. You need to be able to bring up the issues so that they get addressed and prioritized. Because otherwise, we're going to forget about them. Right? That's your role, is to make sure. So you want to list and document all the projects, and then over time, you want to find out who is assigned to what responsibilities. So what isn't a manager position? What doesn't a manager do?
He doesn't do all the work.
Yes, they don't do any work. They don't have to do any work.
Yeah.
Okay, so the goal is not to do the work. It's simply to make sure that we know what work is getting done, right? So this would be what work is getting done, what work isn't getting done, right? That's what we want. That's all we really need to know, right? So a manager can assign themselves to do work, which is perfectly fine. Like a lot of managers end up doing work. So I'm both managing and coordinating, executive and ownership of like the whole network, but I'm also one of the primary workers. So it's wearing two separate hats. So I have my worker hat on, and then I can take it off and I can put my manager hat on, right? So I'm trying to manage all the managers and make sure everything's going on, but I'm also one of the primary workers. So for example, let's take value tracking. So value tracking is Jorge, is the manager for value tracking. Jorge, like I'm involved in certain aspects of the work, including the master ledger and other aspects of the value tracking and et cetera, but it's like Jorge's the manager of my work to make sure that I follow up with what I say I'm going to do, right? So I need help because I'm dealing with 100 different responsibilities, right? So there needs to be different people who are making sure the work that I'm assigned to gets followed up with. Otherwise, I'll be overwhelmed and forget. So people need to manage me just like everybody else, so that we just have accountability. Does that make sense?
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of times where I assign myself to do a task or a responsibility, but that doesn't change the fact that the role of the manager is totally separate from the role of assigning yourself to do the work and actually getting the work done. So are there any questions about the manager role?
Just, I don't have a question. Just like I mentioned yesterday, that I would like to put myself, volunteer myself to be manager, perhaps. I mean, I was working in value tracking, but that didn't work good.
You're
so
still working in value
I don't know
tracking.
in what I could be helpful. But I really want to help.
You're definitely
like
still working in value
organize.
tracking. But you're just saying you want to take on a manager position, which is what we want. We want people to step up and take on manager positions for sure. So let's check out the spreadsheet of positions. So the spreadsheet of positions is called that because they're both manager positions and co-coordinator positions. They're both equally important. Again, the only difference between coordinator positions and manager positions is that coordinator positions potentially take on multiple managers. So you'd have to coordinate multiple managers. So here's our list of positions. So we have the senior quintet managers, which are appointed through elections. We have the organizational auditor, and then we have all these organizations. So one of the things that needs to happen here is we need to organize these positions. And just so you guys know, this is a position. The tactical ops coordinator is the position of positions, right? So the tactical ops coordinator, which is currently Lucy, if anyone wants to help with that, they can, right? This is the coordinator of all of the positions. So the responsibility which someone needs to take on is to help update the positions spreadsheet, okay? So this is a very, very important role because we need all the, so positions are exactly the same. I'm just gonna review this really quickly. So types of work, right? So you have responsibilities, and then you have positions, systems, and processes, okay? So positions are the next step of work, right? Responsibilities are the foundation, but we need to organize our positions just like we organize our responsibilities. So over here, we need to say, you know, organization / network or whatever. So what we want to be able to make sure is really clear is that they're not all the same. So all of these are EXA. And this one is Lucy, Albina, Jorge. Okay. Actually, I want to not do that. I really should not be doing that. Right, so all of these are EXA. So this is actually a position within EXA and not within us. So these are all coordinator roles, like value tracking. Oh no, that's different. Coordinators. So I mean, it might make sense to say whether it's a coordinator or a. So that's the right.
Where's that spreadsheet, James? Sorry.
I just linked it to the notes.
Okay, thank you.
So this would be the treasurer position is the type is this the treasurer. That's a treasurer position. That's what it is. So this is EXA as well, right? Actually, this would be a board position. That's the type of position. Investor relations, this would be a coordinator. So all of these, this would be a coordinator, right? Coordinator, and then these would all be manager positions. This would be an external position. All right, so yeah, hopefully we can get this all organized, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have programs, right? Program manager. And this would be a client, these would all be client manager positions. And this would be a client coordinator. And there is 2 other client coordinator, I think there's 1 other client coordinator position and 2, actually they're not, it's not really a client, it's, I don't know, let's just not go through it right now. We'll get to that. Save it for next time. So I think we're pretty good on the manager positions, but the main thing is just making sure we know what Nelly is doing. So let's see what we got here. Aline, Jorge, Lucy, Steve, Thomas. No, Nelly. So this needs to be organized quite a bit, but I'm assuming you want to do some type of EXA position. Is that correct?
Sorry, one more time.
Oh, is Nelly still here?
Yeah.
Okay, so Nelly, EXA accounting finance manager, EXA general ops manager. Don't have anybody. There's the legal manager, James and Thomas want to help with that. Umbrella finance report. That's not a manager position.
Oh, great. I can help with accounting and finance or general ops manager.
You want to do both of them for now, and then we'll figure it out? Okay.
Yes.
Cool. Nice. So yeah, EXA finance
Well,
is still kind of a mess. What?
Anyone can go for it.
Yeah. I mean, eventually we're gonna have like a primary and secondary and support roles and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, anyone can. They're co-coordinator positions. Everything that we do is co-coordinator because it's better to have 2 people know how to do it, and then if one person leaves, at least there's somebody who knows a little something, right? But typically within the rankings and the knowledge and the contribution, you're still gonna have a ranking for each type, so you know who's in charge. All right, well, I think we're ready to move on. I mean, there's a lot that goes into manager positions, but overall,
we are 4 minutes ahead.
Okay, here's another detail here is to make sure that every position has its own doc. And I do that uppercase on purpose. So one thing that we could say here is, here's the organizational type, the type of position, the name of the position, who is signed up to do the position, right? And then maybe want to say like, position doc, right? Does the doc have a position? Where is the position doc, right? So responsibilities don't need their own doc. A responsibility can have its own doc, but a position needs its own doc. Okay, so a project gets its own doc, but a project will also have a position that gets its own doc and is linked to the project doc. Does that, you guys understand?
Yeah.
So, and just to review that one more time, because I'd say it again and again and again, we have a lot of projects, okay? So projects, for example, umbrella finance and umbrella accounting and finance is one of our biggest projects, right? That project means that we are overseeing finances and umbrella accounting for over 20 organizations. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the umbrella and accounting finance as a project also has a coordinator position, and that coordinator position could potentially be coordinating as many as 20 managers.
Different accounts.
Of each individual account, right? So the projects for the entire network are basically combined projects to simplify everything for the whole network. Does that make sense? So there's,
yes, it
for the
does.
whole network, there's only one project for each section, but every single organization would also have that project as well, and every client has that project as well. Okay?
Okay.
So every single project, currently there's 37 of them, all have co-coordinator positions.
All right.
Does that make sense? So when we're looking at this position, when we're looking at this position, the name of the positions, this includes the laundry list of all of the projects as well. And then we also have organizations. We'll have managers. So this is a manager. This is a program manager. This is a business manager. Or company manager is what it would be. Cool. All right. So, and this is still part of the FQN. All right. So I think we're going to need to come back to this because there's still a lot that needs to be organized. We want to make sure every single position is organized. We know who it is, what the position is, that it has a position doc, that it's like there's tons of work here to do. And the person who's responsible for coordinating, making sure that all of these responsibilities are taken care of is the tactical ops coordinator, right? And this would be the person who's helping update all the positions for the spreadsheet. Where do you think the tactical ops co-coordinator exists in the broader framework of the projects? And this also relates to what category this entire agenda item is part of. It looks like I lost it.
Yeah.
Here it is. This is the agenda item here. So can anyone think about what agenda, what category, what project this agenda item comes under?
Coordination.
Coordination, but what do we put before
coordination?
Worker coordination.
Worker coordination. Yes.
Exactly. Okay, so just to finish this all up, so all wrapped up in a nice, pretty little bow. Worker coordination is the overall project for the entire management position, general management position context. Then they have the tactical ops co-coordinator position within the worker coordination. So worker coordination would also have its own co-coordinator that would be coordinating multiple coordinators and managers, one of which is the tactical ops coordination. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. So again, there's a double feedback loop there, and so there's always overlap between all of these things. And that's part of the decentralized, distributed, global organizing that we do. All right, I think we're ready to move on, but yeah, there's a lot going on here, but it's super duper important. Like, and this is part of our recruitment. We want to recruit people. I mean, people could easily be taking on multiple positions. Like these manager positions are not huge. It just needs to be organized, right? So in a few hours a week, you could easily organize these positions to make sure that everybody knows what responsibilities they're doing so that people are accountable and tracking all of the work that needs to get done. But it's irrespective to the actual work. This is just the management of the work, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's possible to get all the work done without managers. It's just not guaranteed. Like, we're still a mess, right? So the manager positions help us organize everything, and everybody's capable of taking on a manager position, but it's not required. And there will be additional budgets for certain manager positions. All right, so let's see here. Responsibility organizing is really quick. I mean, basically that's just saying that when you're assigned a responsibility, does anyone here have a responsibility that they're not quite sure how to accomplish? Or a task, right? Responsibility?
Yes, Value Square. I work on Value Square, but it looks so simple that
we don't need to go into
it. We're not doing it right.
We don't need to go into it. The point is that everybody here should have a responsibility they're not quite sure how to accomplish. And responsibility organizing is exactly the same concept as general management, where you simply are organizing that responsibility. You don't have to do any of the work, right? So this is like making sure there's a link, make sure there is a link, possibly onto a project doc or other system process doc, or you could create a new doc or create a new doc for your responsibility. So this would be example, help update the position spreadsheet. People need to know how to do this. So we need to create a link for this under the tactical ops coordinator or under the worker coordination. And then somebody needs to take this on and be responsible for organizing that responsibility and to link all of the information to that section of the doc or the new doc, right? So what would be an example of what you would include under help update the position spreadsheet?
Help update spreadsheet. An example.
Okay, so I'm talking about responsibility organizing, right? So here's a responsibility. So help to update the position spreadsheet. Here's the spreadsheet for the positions. You would go to either the tactical ops coordination position or you go to the worker coordination doc. And on that doc, under the section heading, help update the position spreadsheet, which you'd be creating as a link so that everyone knew how to update the position spreadsheet. What information would you want to include there? I mean, we've gone through responsibility organizing like, at least 5 or 6 times. Like, do I need to go through the whole thing again? Like, do you guys understand? Does someone want to describe responsibility organizing in your own words real quick?
You list the responsibilities you have for different projects.
No, responsibility. Okay, let's just go back to what is a responsibility?
Responsibility is part of what we need to do in order to is the tasks, the everyday tasks that we need to do in order to stay organized, keep organized.
All right, so responsibilities are a set of tasks, but they're there to accomplish a goal, right? So responsibility needs to accomplish something, right? You want to accomplish some type of a goal or an outcome or output or deliverable or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what a responsibility is, whereas a task is really just one itty bitty task, right? So for example, a task here is, just like linking, right? So like I don't remember who. Let's see who is taking on the position of the task responsibility master. So Asif Razu and Asisa Iqbal. Okay, so let's see if they did anything. So we come up here and we look at the priority project responsibilities and tasks. So they've done absolutely nothing. So if we need to review that position again, we can do that, but does anybody know what the task responsibility master is supposed to do? So everybody here has no idea. So please tell me if you have no idea what the task responsibility master does.
The responsibility task master does is that we put the tasks of the session into the master document.
No, that's not.
Yeah,
that happens at the end. That's the master document updater. That happens at the end of the session.
Okay.
So you just described what the master document updater does. What does the task responsibility master do? And this is during the session.
To do the tasks assigned during the session.
And do what with them?
And do them.
And do what with them? Accomplish them?
No, first assign to somebody, and then see that the tasks are done. Make sure that tasks are done.
No, where are you getting this from? Are you just making this up, or is it? Or you know?
I think I know, but apparently I don't.
No, it's way simpler. I mean, that's the manager position. So when you're managing people, that's exactly what you just described, Nelly, is exactly what we just covered with the manager position, is to know all the responsibilities and who's doing what. The task responsibility master, all they have to do, and I will look in here because it's literally here. We've gone over this like, at least 3 or 4 times. So
they're the ones putting on the documentation. They're putting it, whether it's a monthly session,
no,
or twice a month,
no,
twice per month, like that.
No.
And then they will put in the verification spreadsheets.
No.
Our session.
No. During this, the task responsibility master, and this is linked directly off of the positions things right here. You can see this very easily. During the session, we log the task responsibilities by copying and pasting them from the notes section to the heading sections under priority projects, priority responsibilities, and priority tasks.
Oh.
How long is it going to take? How long does it take to copy a priority responsibility from the notes to the heading section under priority responsibilities?
15 minutes.
Nope.
No, because you're just copying and pasting, right?
So how long will it take to copy and paste something in the document?
A couple of seconds.
A couple of seconds. So maybe about 15 seconds.
15 seconds, not 15 minutes.
So I feel in general that when I ask you guys questions, and I think a lot of the overwhelmness that you guys get about everything is that you have this expectation in your head that what we're asking you to do is 10 times more complicated than what it actually is. So maybe that's why no one ever likes to do the task responsibility master, because they have this idea that it's this crazy hard thing when it's not. It's totally doable, and that's what we're paying people to do. So I've already said it multiple times, I'll say it again, it's not getting done, and so we need the priority responsibilities, the priority projects, and the priority tasks listed at the top of the document so that it is transparent and clear, everything that's being done. And then when we go through the wrap-up, we would go through the responsibilities and the tasks to make sure that everybody has clear assigned work. So as I speak, we should just start seeing the priority project responsibilities and tasks up here. Because people should be working on getting them updated. And I should never ever have to ask this ever again, yet it seems to come up over and over and over again. So Asif Iqbal or Asif Razu, either you guys need to say,
Razu?
Either you need to say, I don't know what's going on and I need help or something's wrong, or you should just leave because you're not doing what you got assigned to do. Are you guys here?
Yeah, but I do.
So you signed up to take on the position of task responsibility master.
Yes.
And you're not doing it. And the same thing is true with the Asif Iqbal. So somebody needs to do it either now and step up and do it and get it done, because that's what we're paying people to do, or you need to tell us that there's a problem you don't understand, or you need to leave. Something needs to happen, because nothing's happening right now and it's wasting our time. And this is we go over it over and over again. Somebody just needs to step up and get that done. Otherwise, we should just stop entirely and not do anything. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I will do it.
Okay. And we should probably have more people doing it too, so we can get it done right away.
Give me just 1 second.
Thank you, Nelly, for stepping up and doing it. But I really don't appreciate the idea that people just don't do things and then just ignore it as if nothing's happening. I'd want to hear from Asif Razu and Asif Iqbal, I don't know what's going on. We're not sure how to do and accomplish this. Please explain. Instead, it's just silence and nothing, right? Right. So now we're putting Nelly in here to do it. And either way, everybody should be able to do this and help out with it. You know, that's what's just the most frustrating. So I mean, everybody's you know, participation points are going down right now. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like everyone's just sitting here, you know, staring and doing nothing instead of helping. And it's like, why are we paying people and having people to be here?
It's like only you.
Hi, I'm still new here, but I'm still grasping on what's going on and how we do tasks, but I really can help.
So anywhere you see anything in yellow, that would be a task. So you would put that under task. Anything that you see in tan, that would be a responsibility, and you would put that under responsibilities. Anything you see in blue would be a project, and would go under project. It's really that simple. There's nothing else to it. We try to make it really, really simple by highlighting and making sure it's really clear the responsibilities and tasks and work that needs to get done. Right? And I do this all the time too. I mean, I help out with it all the time to make sure it gets done, but it's like, we shouldn't have to stop for 10 minutes in the middle of our session simply to get a 15-second task done and have to do it over and over and over again. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm extremely sorry. This is the first time I was assigned to this task. I thought my task would be to update the priority task or responsibilities to the doc.
Okay, but we've been talking about this for over 10 minutes, and this is the first time that you said something. So, I mean, I think it's perfectly fine that you didn't understand what the task was, but it's just like, let us know so that we can help.
I'm extremely sorry.
Yeah, it's fine, but you know. Thank you for talking about it, as opposed to just giving silence for 10 minutes.
Yeah, actually, I'm turned out kind of.
All right, so that looks a little bit better. So, I mean, it's not even that much. It's just like we want to have all of our projects, responsibilities, and tasks organized so it's clear who's signed up to do what and what hasn't gotten signed up to be done, right? And technically speaking, these are positions. So if you go to the position sheet, you could technically have pre-assigned positions like facilitator, right? Task responsibility master. These are positions. Facilitators. And this would, the type of position would be a real-time position, you know, session position. That make sense?
Yes.
So we could have on here that, you know, J is like a regular real-time session position, right? We could have someone sign up to always be the task responsibility master, always, right? So these are technically positions, and there's other ones, right? There's the, anyways, a whole bunch of them, right? All right, cool. So anyways, let's move on. Where were we? And get back to the whole point of what we were talking about when we got sidetracked on just getting organized. And, you know, I wouldn't get all like uppity about it, except for the fact that it's like we go over this over and over again, and it's like this is what we're paying the people to do. So we get paid by our clients to organize their meetings. So if we went into a meeting and we were totally disorganized and we had to do this during a client session, they're paying us to coordinate their session, how would that look? You know, it would not be very good. So it's like we should be organized and have our systems together. So yeah, we're talking about responsibility organizing. So here's the responsibility. Help update the position spreadsheet.
It's already in the...
Good, that's good. So this is a responsibility that someone needs to organize. Every single responsibility, all 300 of them need to be organized, right? So the other responsibility that you were mentioning before was to, you know, update and organize the list of responsibilities. Right? So you see that there's a big difference between organizing the list of responsibilities and doing responsibility organizing for a specific responsibility. So what you described last time, Nelly, was updating, organizing the list of responsibilities. Right? So somebody said, I remember someone saying something like, you know, to make sure that all the list of the responsibilities are all organized and that we know what all the responsibilities are, but that's not responsibility organizing.
Oh, I see.
So what is responsibility organizing in your own words? And this could be anybody. And then how would you actually go about organizing this particular responsibility, which is one of 300 or more?
Okay, how the way I will do it is that I would prioritize the ones that we are discussing right now and put it on a list and see the percentage that. No, okay.
So again, you're talking about multiple responsibilities. So responsibility organizing is organizing a single responsibility, not multiple responsibilities. It's one single individual responsibility at a time. Right? So does everybody, let me back up a second. Does everybody understand the idea of getting assigned 5 responsibilities?
We are also have 5 responsibilities, right?
Yes. Does anyone here not understand the concept of having 5 responsibilities? So if you don't know how to do the responsibility that you've been assigned to, that you've chosen, then you need to organize that responsibility. So everybody needs to know how to organize the responsibility. And just like the manager position, responsibility organizing does not require you to know how to accomplish the work. Does that make sense? You don't have to do the work.
Yes.
All you have to do is organize the responsibility. So what I'm asking here is, what do you do as an example for this one right here? Update the position spreadsheet. How do you do that? What do you do for organizing that responsibility?
You take all the little tasks that it needs to take on all the responsibility and list.
That's a good idea. So let's note that down, to list the tasks or possible tasks involved with that responsibility. Okay, that's good. All right. So what are you going to write all the tasks onto?
Perhaps how to do it and when to do it, when to do them, like the process, a little bit of process.
Okay, but what if you don't know what the process is, or how to do it, or when it even is supposed to happen?
A description of what the task is.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know, but I would also add probably a desired outcome. I mean, you need to make sure what is it that you are working for. Like if you are, let's say, doing finances, at the end of the day, what you need to do is finish that. But that is like, you need to have that very, very clear.
Yeah, that's a great one. So let's just use the example. What would be the example for updating the position spreadsheet? What would be the description and the goal?
Anybody else? Anyone wants to participate? Apart from Nelly, apart from Lilia?
Well, Lilia, you're welcome to answer that. I mean, it seemed like you have an idea. So what is the description and the goal of the responsibility of this particular responsibility of helping update the position spreadsheet?
I guess the goal will be making a very clear statement of what each responsibility is going to be about, or this particular responsibility.
No.
And no?
That's what responsibility organizing is. That's what we just said. You just said to have a clear description and outcome of what the responsibility is.
A goal for me in
is
do
to
this
help update
will
the
be
position spreadsheet.
to be organized, basically.
No, that's not the goal of helping update the position spreadsheet. You guys know what is the position
and
spreadsheet?
to delegate work.
No, what is that's the goal of the tactical ops coordinator. What is the position spreadsheet? What is it?
To
All
know
the
the
positions are listed
positions.
there.
All the
Joyce?
positions and who it is designated.
Okay, so Joyce is pretty good on that one, right? So do you want to say it again, Joyce?
It shows the positions and who the people are assigned to those positions.
Cool. So that's a pretty good description of what the spreadsheet list is. So what would be the goal of updating the position spreadsheet?
The goal should be,
well, to have it updated, right? To know exactly what everybody's doing. And who's
so that whenever somebody opens that spreadsheet, anybody can tell who is doing this. So whatever you anybody want to ask, or
Cool.
he can go to that person.
So
and also who's not doing what, right? I mean, for example, Nelly just took in some positions right now, some new tasks, and well, if I, for example, will be interested in those, I will need to know that Nelly is actually working on them already, so I can choose something different.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys are really close. It's really good. If you kept going, I'm sure you get it exact. But basically, the only thing I would add is just simply to kind of put that all together, all things you said together. So for me, that the goal of updating the position spreadsheet is to have a complete list of all positions within the network and who is currently taking them on.
Yeah, an overview,
right? And, and what has not been assigned.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that would be a really clear goal of the actual responsibility. And you guys are perfectly capable of figuring it out, because that's exactly what we talked about, and that's exactly what the spreadsheet is for. It's not anything more than that, and it's not anything less than that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
And you could also say, you could also get even more detailed and say, what isn't part of this responsibility? You know, doing any of the management work or the work of the actual responsibilities under the manager. Right?
Right.
Right. So when Nelly was first talking, she was talking about doing the work, but it's like, no, that's not what responsibility organizing is. Not doing the work. So let's go back to what is responsibility organizing, and what would be the first thing that you do for organizing a responsibility.
It's just organizing a single responsibility, not two, not three, just one.
Yes, so that's what I'm talking about. We're talking about organizing. Responsibility organizing is organizing a single responsibility, regardless of whether you know how to do it. So what is the first step in responsibility organizing?
Could be display the tasks.
No. Where would you display the tasks?
What we mentioned before, we discussed before about having a document for each responsibility. So perhaps there.
Perhaps what there? What?
In the documents for each responsibility.
What if it doesn't have a document?
Well, you create one.
That's an option, yes.
There you go. Make sure there's either a document or a link for the responsibility. I mean, we're talking like ABCs, simple, simple, simple. You know, and it's like like you guys are always either 5 steps ahead, or you're like thinking it's 10 times more complicated. And it's like, if you don't create a doc, or you don't have anywhere to put the information, it's not going to be organized.
Yeah.
Right. So and everybody just skips that. They skip the concept. Oh, how's it going to do what I'm going to do? But if you don't do that step first, nothing else as part of responsibly organizing is possible. Step one of responsibly organizing is to either create a link within a doc or to create a doc for the responsibility. There's no other way to organize a responsibility. It's impossible.
We need to work on that.
So that's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucy, Albina, other people have done a lot of work in that particular regard. So let's think about this example responsibility. Update the position spreadsheet. So what's the first thing that you would do?
After creating a doc?
You don't necessarily need to create a doc, but you could create a doc. So is that what the first thing you do is create a doc, or what? What would you do?
Yeah, so that I can put the list of responsibilities and
okay. So what would be the next most important thing after creating the doc?
The description of the responsibility.
Okay, create the doc, and then let's just say add information. Okay, but then what are you going to do? How are people going to find? How are people going to find it? Where?
Put the link.
Put the link
to the
where?
doc.
Where?
In the global team, in the Americas team.
In the super team doc.
No.
Or.
So you think that the only group that needs to know about the position spreadsheet?
No, I mean global weekly.
Global.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put it there, but it's not really a primary overall. I mean, it's just a spreadsheet. It's like one little spreadsheet. So you could do that, but where is the information need to be linked? Right? You can link.
I will link it to the overall top responsibilities spreadsheet that we have, and link it there.
There you go. So
when people want to work in a responsibility, like, oh, this is like 10%, I need to work on this, they will click on the link and see what it is about, the responsibility, and be able to work on it.
Okay, so that's really good for all responsibility organizing, right? So every responsibility needs to be linked to the list of responsibilities. So let's get an example of that so that everybody has that. So if you go to the new buddy team schedule, and you click on the buddy team schedule.
Almost there.
What you're going to find is on the very, very far right side is the info tab. So I come all the way to the far right side and I click on the info tab. And then within the info tab has a list of all of the responsibilities. Well, it has the list of responsibilities. We have multiple lists of responsibilities because there's so many of them. We try to organize them a little bit. So within a list of responsibilities, you would find links to the actual responsibilities. And these are starting to get updated more and more and more. So we're making progress. But every single one of these responsibilities should have a link that will allow it to be organized. And you know, this one's a duplicate, so I'm not sure exactly. Let's go to eggs client responsibilities. So I click on the responsibilities button. Yeah, so this is getting better. See, so a lot of these are starting to have links. Whether they're linked correctly or whatever, I mean, who knows? But people are starting to link the responsibilities. But every single time we have a session, right? And we created a responsibility that needs to be added to the list of responsibilities, to the spreadsheet. And that would be one of the roles of the master document updater, is you'd be updating all of the responsibilities into the master responsibilities list and the master spreadsheet of responsibilities. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so that's good for all responsibilities, but what about this specific responsibility? Where else would you link this specific responsibility?
Specific.
What is this specific responsibility of helping update the position spreadsheet? What does it pertain to?
Worker coordination, I guess.
Worker coordination. So wouldn't it make sense that you would link this responsibility to worker coordination?
Right.
So where else would you link this responsibility?
Master list of responsibilities.
We already did that. You basically you said worker coordination as a question. You were like, oh, maybe worker coordination, right? So that's not good enough for me. It's like, where would you link this particular responsibility? Which project?
Tactical ops coordination coordinator.
Okay, so you want to link to the applicable position or manager position if it has one, and you want to link to the applicable project doc, right? So for this would be worker coordination, and it would be the tactical ops co-coordination position. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool. All right, so I mean, I can't explain to you guys how important responsibility organizing is, and just over and over and over, what I get from people is, I don't know what to do. I'm not sure how to do anything. Like, someone needs to give me a task. It's like, if you know how to do responsibility organizing, you have months of work to do. Months and months. We literally have hundreds and hundreds of responsibilities, right? How long do you think it would take to organize a single responsibility?
A lot. It's like 300 responsibilities. A lot.
Well, no. How long do you think it would take to do one responsibility?
One. Perhaps in creating all the documents and the links, perhaps half an hour.
Half an hour. That's exactly correct. So maybe half an hour, maybe ones that are more complicated, maybe an hour or whatever, right? So if you take that times 300, that's a lot of work to do. And every responsibility that's been organized needs to be verified and double checked and triple checked, and it goes on and on and on, right? And then I'm constantly getting, oh, I don't know what to do, right? So it's like, if you guys understand this, which part of me feels like, you know, maybe we've gotten through to a few people, I don't know, but the point is that, like, this is the foundation to everything, right? Is organizing the responsibilities, right? So again, just to remind you guys, responsibility organizing does not require you to know how to accomplish the work. You want to make sure that there is a link either onto a project doc or other systems doc, right? Or create a new doc for the responsibility, okay? So, you know, under the worker coordination doc, you could just make a section heading under updating the position spreadsheet, or under the position for the manager, position for the tactical ops co-coordination. You could put that heading there, and then every heading is a link. So for example, we're talking about responsibility organizing. Does everyone understand that we're talking about responsibility organizing right now?
Yes.
And we've made this a heading. So we go to heading 3, we make it a heading. And so now if I go to the top of the document and I go to our contents and I update it, this has the list of all of the headings for our entire meeting, right? So if we click on responsibility organizing, if you look up here, you can see the Google link right here, right?
Yeah.
If I click on responsibility organizing, it
check
takes
it
me
out.
directly to responsibility organizing, and it changes the link at the top, right? So this link is a heading that goes directly to the responsibility organizing agenda item within our meeting. So you can do that for any document. And so every single responsibility is required to have a link within a project doc, or it can have its own document. Okay, but you can have a dozen or more responsibilities in a single document. Does that make sense?
Yes.
If you want to, you don't have to create a separate responsibility. We don't need 300 documents for 300 responsibilities, right? So you can have within, for example, worker coordination could have 10 responsibilities within that document, or within the tactical ops coordination could have 10 responsibilities within that document. Okay, does that make sense? But if you don't know how to do that, just make a new document. We don't care. Just make a new document, link the new document. As long as there is a link to the information, that's perfectly fine. So this particular responsibility has pretty much been organized. It's probably like 50% organized already. Like someone might as well take this on. I mean, really. Okay, like can somebody please take this on as a responsibility? Like, please. I mean, we're paying people to do the work. Like it's not, it's like just work.
Yes.
So Nellie's gonna do it. Like nobody else. Nellie's been taking on everything. Like it's just pathetic. It's pathetic for me that Nellie's taking on all these tasks and everyone else is just sitting here. Like everybody else is going to get like no. People are just not going to be getting participation credits if you're just going to sit here and listen and not take on and do anything. It's like ridiculous.
Okay. Can I help Nellie, because I think I'm understanding this one quite clearly.
I would prefer you to do it, and then Nellie can help you if she has questions. If you have a question you are not able to do it, you should ask Nellie for help instead of the other way around.
I can do that.
Yeah, so I would say that Lilia should take on this responsibility in it, for at least for the organizing, right? And then ask Nellie for help.
Yeah, because she has a lot of responsibilities already.
Yeah, she has tons of responsibilities already, and she knows how to do it, so she can help you, right? So the whole idea that you're alone when you take on a responsibility is just a figment of people's crazy minds, right? Like we're all here to help each other.
Yeah, I can do like starting with a body team with Lilia, working on that, so she can be able to do it alone, and then just answering questions with her. Yes.
Or not, Lilia. You could just text message or Skype or whatever. The point is that Lilia can just get it done, and if you need help, I mean, literally all you have to do is go to a document, create a heading, copy and paste an index. This is part of indexing information. Information indexing, right? This would be Lilia for this topic, for this particular responsibility, right? And this is the responsibility here that we're doing. And it's just, that's all you have to do. You like literally all you have to do, since we already did most of the work, is copy and paste this into the responsibility link.
Yes.
Like I mean, it's perfectly fine if you have to ask Nellie for help, but it's not that complicated. Like you could literally do it in a few minutes. We've already spent half an hour on it. If you need help, it's perfectly fine. Ask Nellie for help. But I just am glad that like somebody else besides Nellie is taking on. So then this needs to get copied and pasted up at the top so that we can show that Lilia, like add Lilia's name to that. And then this is a separate responsibility, is updating and organizing the list of responsibilities. And then everybody, you have 5 responsibilities. Every single one of those 5 responsibilities, your first step is to organize them, so that you know where the link is and all the information about the responsibility. Okay, the main reason I asked about what you want to put in the information is that there's one other thing that you guys need to come up with.
Sorry, I lost that part.
What is the other link that would go in this particular responsibility that would be related to all responsibilities, what essential link do you put in all responsibilities, and what specific link would you put for this responsibility?
The one we were before, the general manager position stock.
No.
The link to the main doc of that person.
How do people learn how to do the work?
Training videos.
Training videos. So what link would you specifically put for this particular responsibility?
The training videos.
What link is that? Where would you find that link?
Oh, it's in all teams. It's in the Andromeda team.
No.
In the global team.
No, it's a specific individual link. Where do you find that specific individual link, and how do we link it here right now?
Master training video links.
No.
We have it in Andromeda. Let me get that for you.
Give me just 1 second. Andromeda. Okay, so somebody said, how could it be in there? How is it in there? I don't understand how it's in there. This is the first time we've ever talked about this responsibility. This is a brand new responsibility. Updating the position spreadsheet is a brand new responsibility. We have never ever talked about it.
I thought you were talking about video training.
I was talking about video training.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the video training for this responsibility.
This session's video.
Cool, but which part of the session's video? So after this session, what should happen is that we have somebody called, someone should take on the master document updater, which would document the, or the video indexer during the session would document and put it into the master video indexing spreadsheet, right? And this is right here. Mm-hmm. Wait, do we have it here? I don't know if it's linked here, but it should be linked here, right? So if we go to the video indexing section, yeah, session training video indexing spreadsheet. So it's right here. So, right. So, but that's going to happen after the session. Where is the link right now?
Right now. Wait. Right now.
I'm sorry. I'm just not understanding your question. Sorry.
The question is, where do you find the link for the training regarding this particular responsibility?
Oh, in responsibility organization.
This one, Jay, responsibility.
Worker coordination. Sorry.
Worker coordination, right?
No.
Organizing should be. Project should be.
So
in the video index,
okay, in the video
organizing, yes.
I think Joyce is on the right direction here.
Yeah, in the video indexing of which video indexing of responsibility organizing.
That's a pretty good bet. I would probably say you'd want to do both of them for the general manager position and the responsibility organizing. I would say it's both of those. And you might need to actually go in and find the specific section that had the specific training on that particular responsibility. But Joyce has it correct, right? So it's like, it's literally right here in the document. So, yes. So Lilia, yes. Do you know what you would do now? So you know where you would find the link for the video training for the responsibility that you're now taking on for organizing?
I'm going there. I'm going there. I look at it on your screen, but I'm going there.
How do you get there?
Video. Because it's right in the videos. It's right here, video indexing. Got it. The thing is that I have already been creating a document. Here, 1 second.
The question was simply a yes or no question. Do you know where to get the link for the training for your responsibility?
Yes.
You do. Okay, done. We're good to go.
Yeah.
All right. So that's it. That's it. You know, and it shouldn't take 5-10 minutes for you guys to simply know where to find the link for the video training. So we want to improve upon, like I've gone over responsibility like over and over and over again. Like this is at least the 10th time or 8th time I've gone over responsibly organizing. So like every single buddy team, right? Everybody who's here, right? There's 8 of us, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of us, right? What should be the first thing you do in your buddy team when you get to your buddy team?
Create the document.
Documentation.
Sure, but what is the first thing that the buddy team does?
Your responsibilities organized.
No. What is
your priorities for the buddy team?
No. You get organized. So you get your buddy. So yeah, priorities for your buddy team is part of getting organized, right? And what should all of you guys do for one of your top priorities for your buddy team? When we come back to a session, let's say we come back to a session here, a global session, in like another month or whatever, the Venus session, and I say, oh yeah, everyone, we should make sure we're all doing, responsibility organizing, and none of you guys are here today. What's going to happen, right? How do we prevent having to go through everything that we just went through again?
What is the question, Jay?
Yeah.
The question is, what is the top priority that you guys should all be doing with your buddy teams?
Scheduling a buddy team
No.
session?
All the buddy team sessions are already scheduled. So everyone's going to go, and they're going to be broken up into buddy teams, and we're going to be working in buddy teams for many weeks, and then we're all going to come back to the global session. And I've said over and over again, it's like the 8th time talking about responsibly organizing, and it's like people just don't get it. So how do we fix that, right? There's 8 of us here right now. There's like 25 people involved in the network. When you go off to all the buddy teams across the world for like the next many weeks, the first thing you do in your buddy team is to get organized and to set up your priorities, right? What should be all 8 of us? What should be one of the top priorities that we do within all of our buddy team sessions for the next couple weeks?
Learn about the responsibility organizing that we discussed today.
Okay, but what's the opposite of learning about it? Because we just learned about it.
Okay. Put it to action.
Teaching. Asif, thank you.
Teaching.
Yes, all of you guys can now go and train everybody who's not here in responsibly organizing over and over and over and over and over and over again until they understand it. Everybody needs to understand responsibly organizing. They need to watch the videos. They need to do whatever they need to do to understand responsibly organizing, because I should never, ever, ever have to explain it again. And it should be literally one of the first things a new recruit learns about is responsibility organizing, because they get 5 responsibilities, and then what is the first thing they do with those 5 responsibilities? They need to organize them. Right?
Organize and then learn.
Yes.
They should learn about that responsibility.
No. What are you going to do? I don't
get them
care what
organized,
anybody else
and then
is
you
going to
learn
do.
about them.
I don't care what anyone else is going to do. What are you going to do, Joyce?
About the 5 responsibilities?
No, about everybody in relationship to the responsibilities and getting it organized. What are you going to do in your buddy teams? Asif just said it like literally a minute ago.
I will, if you would ask me, you're asking me, right? Okay.
Well, I was
if
asking
you would
Joyce,
ask me,
but you can say it
I
again.
will go for trading to my buddy team
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I think there's this huge gap, right, in the idea, and this is also, you know, someone needs to be working with Lucy on this too, because Lucy keeps coming to me and saying that nobody's doing anything in her buddy teams in the mornings for well, they're my mornings, you know, this is your Africa sessions, right? And she's like, no one's doing anything, blah blah blah. And so I start asking people what's going on, and from my perspective, what it sounds like is happening is that people are just telling people to do things. Like, what are your responsibilities? Go to work, get it done, right? That's insane. It's never going to work. No one knows how to do anything, right? Like, Nelly, how have you learned 90% of everything that you know how to do in the network?
Working, doing.
How? Doing what? Working what? Doing what?
Doing first, how I've learned, first having training with you, or
working together with me.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes. So it's like it shouldn't even be. I shouldn't even have to ask. You understand what I'm trying to say? It's like there's this disconnect in the concept that we just did a bunch of training right here. You guys are all educated and knowledgeable about everything related to responsibility organizing, yet you would go to your buddy teams and not teach anyone else about it. Right? So that like that seems to be this repeating problem that it's like the way that you work in buddy teams is you work together and you train each other on the information that you know.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, and so somehow that has been missing in especially some of the global buddy teams. So that needs to be, it should just be like on the tip of your tongue. Like, of course I'm going to go train my buddies. That's just like everybody's training constantly and everyone's learning constantly. Yet there's this expectation that it's like only Jay seems to do training. It's like, oh, everyone needs to get training from Jay. Absolutely not. There's no possible way that would ever happen. I train one person, that one person can train 2 people, that person can train 3 people. You can watch the videos, you can do whatever. There's a million ways to get the information. It doesn't all have to come from me. In fact, it's impossible for it all to come from me because I'm usually asleep during when most of the people across the world are awake, and vice versa. All right, so anyways, I just wanted to make sure that was really clear because it's very frustrating when people just keep all the information for themselves and don't tell anyone else about it, you know? So what is everyone going to do as the top priority when they get back to their buddy teams for the next few weeks?
Train our buddy team.
On
responsibility organizing.
Perfect. All right, so I think we're good to go. I mean, there's so many more things to talk about, but I think we're at time. We've been going for 2.5 hours, maybe more. So maybe we should just check out. And
okay.
And then we'll have to catch up on the rest of the stuff later. But again, it's like if we keep having to go through responsibility organizing over and over and over and over again, we're never going to get to training on new team budgeting and billing systems. We're never going to get to training on FQN value tracking and team equity and daily equity spreadsheets. We've been talking about needing to do that for literally 6-8 months. Or at least 6 months or whatever. And it's like we never get to it because I have to keep having to repeat myself over and over again on all these things that for me, they seem pretty simple. You know, it's just like create a link the information of that there, link the video for the responsibilities so that people can get trained on how to do it. You know, write the definition and the actual purpose of what the responsibility is. Ask for help. I mean, just simple things. And it's like, I find myself repeating it over and over and over again. And so there's all this really important stuff that we never, ever get to. And it's something has to change or we're just going to continue to fall to the wayside. You know, we're not going to hit where we need to be organized and getting everything done and being stable and organized so we can keep our budgets. And there's a good chance our budget might get slashed and cut next month. You know, so it's like, I mean, I'm talking about real stuff. You know, if we don't accomplish the goals and tasks, that's perfectly fine, but we're not going to have the money and we're not going to be able to pay people. And people will have to get rid of people or we'll have to, you know, do something else. So I don't know how to to stress it or make it important. But let's go into checkouts. So Nelly, do you want to take us through checkouts?
Yes, sure. So we're going to start with our checkouts. So I have a list here that I'm going to use it in order for you to be able to check out. So Lilia, we want to start with you, please.
Okay. Well, this was a really good session. I learned a lot, and I'm really glad that I'm getting on board with this responsibility.
Great. Thank you. Then we have Joyce.
Yeah. Thank you, Jay, for this informative session. I learned, and I will share it to my body teams. Thank you.
Okay, check. Then we have Abigail.
Sorry. So I'm sorry, I'm just being quiet, but I'm attentively listening and getting a grasp of everything. And also, I got more insights and I commit to attend more sessions.
All right, thank you. Asif Iqbal.
Yes, I am pretty much, excited about the session, the knowledge Jay has shared with us, and hope to get more and more information in the future.
Okay, thank you. Jay?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a pretty good session, but it's just like, I don't want to spend hours and hours at general management responsibilities and responsibility organizing over and over again. I want to focus on the actual work, So, but it's like until people understand the basics of what a responsibility is, how do you organize a responsibility, what a manager position is, management position, we can't actually talk about responsibilities and the actual work that needs to get done. I hope that we can get beyond this so that we can start focusing on all of the other exciting things that are there to do. But overall, I mean, I think this was super important because, it's like step one for responsibility organizing is creating the link, right, for the information, right? So if we haven't linked and connected the idea of what is responsibility organizing and what is a manager position, there's no possible way to go to step two, right? So hopefully we got step one out of the way in terms of just understanding how to organize responsibilities and how to manage positions and manage clients and things like that. But anyways, I'm desperately eager to move on to the more substantial information, because people are always complaining like, oh, I want more training, I want more information, but we can't even get to that if we can't get past these basics. So yes, but thank you for all being here. That's the most important thing, is just being here and being present. And I think this is overall very good. Check.
Okay, thank you so much. So,
Jay, before you go, because we will be on the values tracking, about the point, how to, the time, because of you are in the 12 to 6 a.m.
Yeah, it
like
goes
those
in the
people
attendance.
who are in the 12 to 6 a.m. bracket.
Yeah, so that goes
right
under
now.
attendance. So what about, is this a C?
How to multiply their time? Times 2, right? Times 2 only, right?
Okay, so let me go over it real quick. Okay, so 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is regular 1x, right? 9 p.m. So the idea is 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. is personal time, right? 12 midnight is 1.5x. 12 midnight to 6 a.m. is 2x. And 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. is 1.5x. So it kind of gives like a framework, like it basically, if you're up in the middle of the night when you should be sleeping, you get 2x, right? But
Yes.
if it's just like, you know, a little early in the morning or a little, you know, after dinner or whatever, then yeah, it's just 1.5x because that's not as bad. So does that make sense?
Okay, thank you very much.
And that goes in the attendance section. So, and let's say you're in between the two, you could do 1.75x or whatever if you're in between the two, like you did a little bit over midnight, you know, or like half was it over midnight, half was not. So you can go in between a little bit, but where this goes is directly at the very, very top of the document in the attendance section. So it should be really clear from the very beginning, which is why I brought it up at the beginning. And it could also be part of check-in. People, when people are checking in, they could check in and be like, you know, on the global level, oh, you know, it's the afternoon, oh, it's the middle of the night, et cetera, et cetera. So that would go under attendance right here. So so this is Joyce, right?
Yes.
So Joyce, what would your location be?
In Egypt, at the start of the session, it was 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah. So we can put like what there's 10.75, right? Or 1.75x for you. And then so for other people, I don't know who else there is. I mean, I'm assuming for Asif Razu and Asif Razu. This is Asif Razu. And then Asif
in Bangladesh.
And this would be Asif Iqbal. They would be probably the middle of the night, you know, but it's like unless you tell us, we just don't know.
Yeah, we are in the middle of the night. I mean, I've started at 11 p.m.
11
We should have put that on the check-ins. No one.
Well, I mentioned it. I mentioned it. We just didn't get to it. So, anyways, thank you, Joyce, for bringing
everyone was in charge of that.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I think is there anyone else who it's basically middle of the night for? Yeah, and this is only applicable to global sessions. So typical normal weekly sessions, it's just not applicable. It's only applicable to global sessions. So this would be quarter moon sessions, new moon, full moon, and then planetary sessions.
So only global sessions.
Only global sessions. So when you go to a main session, we're only asking you to attend the sessions that you want to attend. So there's no, we're not actually encouraging you to be up in the middle of the night. It's only for global sessions. Somebody has to be up in the middle of the night. And I've done it many, many times. So I know all about waking up and putting my alarm for 3 a.m. and it's just ridiculous.
Yes.
But someone's got to do it. And that's why we use the natural time cycles, is because it makes it so it's all even and fair for everybody, because it's totally random who has to be up in the middle of the night.
Okay, thank you, Jay.
Okay,
Thank you, everybody.
We still need to continue with the checkouts.
Yeah, sorry.
Jorge, do you want to go?
Sure. There was a lot of things that we need to digest on this meeting, a lot of information. And yeah, there's a need for everybody to step up, even participation, even if you don't have things right or you say all the things right, just try to step up.
Thank you.
Because that's what it's about. Okay, check.
Asif Sultan?
Okay, well, it was a really tough session. I'm staying awake the whole night. But through this session, I just felt like there are lots of things to learn. And I also learned some stuff which was needed to be done. But in a very bitter way, that was my fault. But I think the session was really good for me. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Check for you. Okay. So Eileen?
Eileen left already.
Sorry?
Yeah, Eileen
llamando
left.
a revisar.
Eileen left already.
Yes.
Ven, rápido.
Eileen is here or not?
She left already.
She left. Okay. So then I will check out. I like this meeting because we organize some things that needs to get organized. I just encourage you all to participate more. not to be afraid. I mean, if you are wrong, as I am all the time, they will always tell you no, and that's not correct, and that's it. But please try to participate during the meetings. It's very important. Also, as Jay mentioned, if you are assigning you to do a task for the session, go ahead and do it. But if you don't know how to do it and you are not going to do it, then just don't say that you will do it. All right?
Yeah, we have still Abigail with us.
Okay. So that's it for me, Tech. Thank you all.
Abigail, please, can you please check out?
Oh, I did already.
Yeah.
Joyce. Yeah.
Did you?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I did. So I'm just quiet, but I'm really listening, grasping, understanding.
Yes,
This is really new.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you.
Abigail, what time is it for you right now?
Actually, I woke up 3 a.m. just to join this.
So Abigail would be
No,
a
it's 7.
2x as well.
I have question, Jay.
Mhm.
So can I like review the notes or the notes that was written earlier while we were discussing? So I don't know. I have a different way of learning because I really wanna, when I'm really interested in something, I really wanna take time to absorb everything. Thus, I can do the task efficiently.
So first of all, we're not doing tasks; we're doing responsibilities. But what is the notes that you want to review again? I missed that.
The notes that you were the document. The document, and someone was taking down notes.
You mean our notes for the session?
Yes.
For the session.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, basically, everybody has, like, when you come to your buddy team session, you can do whatever you need to do to work on the work that you need to get done, right? So if you need to review notes and everything, you can do that. In addition to that, as a new person, you have 2 additional hours a week for a little while, for probably a couple, like another week or 2, right? To basically do whatever you want to. So everyone